In the past 2 months, Isabella had visited the bookstore 3 times, always returning with reassurances from Signor Librai that patience was key and that things were progressing favorably for her poems. On her birthday, a day Vittorio never failed to honor, Isabella woke with a cheerful spirit, eager for what the day might hold. Her morning passed in a blur of chores, tending to the horses, tidying the house, and preparing a hearty meal. Yet, as she worked, her mind buzzed with anticipation, wondering what gift Vittorio might have chosen for her special day. As evening fell, the familiar creak of the front door heralded Vittorio's return. Isabella greeted him with a warm smile, and to her surprise he replied, "Good evening, birthday girl. 16 already. How time flies," before pulling her into a rare, heartfelt hug. The gesture, so uncharacteristic of his usual reserve, sent a wave of warmth through her. She clung to the moment, savoring the rare closeness and feeling of belonging it brought. "Sit, Isabella," Vittorio said, gesturing toward the table. In his hand was a small, ornately carved box. Isabella's eyes lit up with excitement as she recognized the object. A jewelry box like those she had admired in shop windows. She gasped, her voice trembling with delight. "It's a jewelry box!" She set it down carefully on the table, her hands momentarily still as her imagination raced with possibilities. With a deep breath, she opened it to reveal a stunning pair of earrings, turquoise stones set in delicate silver mounts. The design was simple yet elegant. Small teardrop-shaped turquoise stones with smaller rounded pieces above, their dark blue shades perfectly matched. The understated size made them versatile, subtle yet refined. "This is your favorite color, isn't it?" Vittorio asked, watching her reaction closely. Isabella, now holding the earrings with reverence, nodded, her voice soft with awe. "Yes, they absolutely are." She held them up to her ears, turning to show Vittorio. "They'll suit you perfectly," he said with a rare smile. "I've also made arrangements with the midwife down the street to pierce your ears whenever you're ready." Isabella's eyes glistened as she looked at him. "Thank you for such a thoughtful gift. I love them. And I love you, Uncle." Vittorio nodded, his voice gentle. "Anything for you?" As Isabella admired the earrings, a realization struck her. Few women she had seen in church or in her daily life wore earrings, or even had pierced ears. The gift carried a weight beyond its beauty. Her status, in her eyes, was no longer what it once was. As they eat in silence, Isabella's gaze drifts repeatedly to the open jewelry box. The quiet is broken by Vittorio's voice, measured and deliberate. "Isabella, there's something I need to tell you." Her fork pauses midway to her mouth as she replies innocently, "Yes? What is it?" Vittorio exhales slowly, choosing his words with care. "A few months ago I met someone." Isabella's chewing slows, her expression still but telling. Her silence carries the weight of unspoken questions. Vittorio presses on. "I care about her. A widow. You can imagine how we crossed paths. I purchased Cinnaire from her. I've also helped her with a few other matters. I wanted to tell you because, well, it might lead to something more between us, but I need you to know. You are, and always will be, the most important thing to me." Isabella remains silent, digesting the unexpected news. Vittorio's eyes flicker toward the jewelry box and breaks the silence, his voice tentative. "She helped me pick out those earrings for you." Isabella pauses mid-motion, her spoon hovering over her plate. After a long moment, she speaks in a tone carefully devoid of emotion. "Tell me about her. What is her name?" Vittorio shifts in his chair, attempting to maintain a calm demeanor. "Her name is Ginevra. She has a son and a daughter. Her husband passed away 4 months ago. She lives with her daughter, Costanza, who is just a few months younger than you." Her son is older. He's a sailor in Venice. I've never met him. Ginevra also has a brother and sister here in Padua. He hesitates, then continues, his voice steady. She was a housewife before her husband's death. When he passed, I bought one of his horses to help her cover the burial costs and pay off some debts. Later, I helped her sell the other 2 horses so she'd have enough funds to manage for a while. Isabella's mind swirls with a storm of questions. She fidgets with her spoon, her appetite forgotten. Finally, she asks, her voice quiet but direct, "Do you plan to marry her?" "I don't know yet," Vittorio replies honestly, "but for me, it's a possibility." Isabella's gaze drifts to the earrings, their turquoise stones gleaming softly in the candlelight. "Is that why you've been coming home late these past few months?" she asks, her tone edged with restrained tension. "Yes," Vittorio admits, meeting her eyes with quiet resolve. A sharpness creeps into Isabella's voice as she mutters, "I suppose that's better than going to the whorehouse." The words slip out before she can temper them, cutting the air like a blade. She rises abruptly, snatching the jewelry box from the table with a decisive motion. Without another word, she turns and leaves to her bedroom. Vittorio watches her retreat, his face a mix of disappointment and understanding. Though her words sting, he refuses to let anger take root, his gaze lingering on the doorway long after she disappears. With the fire crackling in the hearth, Isabella sits on her bed, her pillow pressed against the wall for support. She holds the jewelry box in her hands, her expression visibly irritated as she stares at its contents. After a long pause, she sets the earrings down on her desk beside the flickering candle. With a sharp breath, she leans forward to blow out the flame, plunging the room into darkness save for the warm glow of the fire. Pulling the blankets over herself, she lies back, her head resting heavily on the pillow. Even as she lies there, her eyes linger on the jewelry box, its faint outline illuminated by the shifting light of the fire. The shadows it casts ripple across her face, restless and unsteady. She turns over, her movement throwing her own shadow onto the wall, where it dances in tandem with the flickering flames. A soft creak breaks the quiet as her door opens and shuts almost immediately, the noise swallowed by the crackling of the fire. Her anxious eyes flicker, her mind racing, until the familiar weight of Rosso landing on the bed steadies her thoughts. She feels his small body settle beside hers, the rhythmic sound of his grooming filling the stillness. Reaching out, she scoops the cat into her arms, pulling him beneath the blanket. Hugging him tightly, she strokes his fur in slow, soothing motions, kissing his head softly as she always does when seeking comfort. Rosso's warmth against her chest eases the tension in her body, his presence a quiet balm to her troubled thoughts. The next morning, Isabella sits at the table, breakfast laid out before her. Vittorio, nearly finished with his meal, glances at her briefly, but says nothing. Neither offers a greeting. The silence between them feels heavy, the air thick with unspoken words. Isabella fidgets with her fingers, her eyes darting to Vittorio, but never quite meeting his gaze. Finally she speaks, her voice low and tentative. "I'm sorry for yesterday, for what I said. It wasn't fair. You have the right to be happy, just as much as I do, maybe even more." Her words falter for a moment, but she presses on. "It was selfish of me. I know you've been alone, and having someone by your side, someone you can share more with, is important. If this relationship is what you want, what you need, I'll support you as best I can." The silence that follows feels endless, both of them wrestling with the weight of her words. At last, Isabella adds, her voice trembling, "I lost my father. I don't want to lose you, too." Vittorio's expression softens. He reaches across the table and rests his hand gently on hers. "You will never lose me," he says, his voice steady but tinged with discomfort. A faint, truthful smile crosses his lips before he stands. At the door, just as he is about to leave, Vittorio hesitates. Without turning back, he says softly, "There's a woman waiting for you downstairs." From behind, he sees Isabella nod, her long hair shifting slightly with the motion. What he doesn't see is the single tear slipping from her left eye. Once Vittorio exits, Isabella wipes it away quickly, her hand trembling slightly as she sits alone in the quiet room. In the past few weeks, Isabella has managed to produce only a single poem. Her inspiration feels distant, elusive, like a shadow she can no longer grasp. Late at night, she opens her drawer where she has carefully placed the 3 soldi earned earlier that day. Her fingers linger over the small pile of coins as she counts them silently. By her estimation, she now has nearly 120 soldi, a fortune she has yet to spend or fully appreciate. "The priest was right," she murmurs to herself. Word of a woman working alongside Vittorio has spread, bringing him more opportunities, and in turn allowing her to earn a modest but steady living. She smiles faintly, the thought both humbling and bittersweet. My father probably never saw such wealth in his lifetime. With a soft sigh, she closes the drawer and looks at the window to latch the shutters. Her gaze drifts to the darkened glass, where her reflection stares back at her, fractured and multiplied by the dim light. The sight gives her pause. Her eyes fall on the jewelry box resting nearby, and she retrieves the earrings inside. They are beautiful, she thinks, holding them up. The turquoise stones sway gently, catching the faint glow of candlelight. Turning back to the window, she lifts the earrings to her lobes, tilting her head slightly. In her reflection, she sees a different version of herself, a touch of elegance she had not imagined before. Mid-morning, after completing her usual chores, Isabella feels restless and in need of a change of pace. With the plunging temperatures signaling the time of year when Vittorio's business becomes increasingly busy, she knows she is unlikely to see him during the day. With no urgent tasks to attend to, she wraps herself in her shawl and steps outside, deciding to take a stroll through the city. Naturally, her steps lead her to Signor Librai's shop, hoping for news about the poems. Despite often finding his responses frustrating, Isabella has grown fond of the eccentric old man. His quirks have a peculiar charm, and she always leaves his shop feeling inexplicably uplifted. "Good morning, Signor Librai. How are you today?" Isabella greets him warmly as she enters the shop, uncovering her head. Without looking up from his work, the old man mutters, "Young Signora Isabella. But no, it is not a good morning for me. Not good at all." Feigning concern, Isabella asks, "What has happened, Signor?" With dramatic flair, he sighs. "I've lost a volume. Imagine, me, a man who prides himself on knowing where every single book is in this shop, lost in my own domain. If my late wife were alive, she'd keel over from a heart attack at such a disgrace." Finally, he looks up and studies Isabella. "Why are you here?" he asks, his tone still sharp with irritation. With a small smile, Isabella responds, "As usual, my uncle has sent me to ask about his poems. He also wanted me to bring them back if there's been no progress." "There's no need for that, no need at all," Signor Librai says. "I have good news. Yes, very good news, but your uncle must come himself tomorrow." Isabella frowns slightly. "But my uncle is a very busy man. That's why he sends me." "What could he possibly be doing that's more important than coming here himself?" Librai retorts, his tone turning accusatory. With a slight shrug, Isabella replies, "You know he works for the church on the other side of town. He can't abandon his duties so easily." The old man narrows his eyes, unconvinced. "Tell him to come tomorrow. This is important. Very important." Isabella offers him a polite but non-committal smile, her voice laced with false concern. "I'll do my best, Signor, but I can't promise anything." Satisfied enough, Libri nods curtly. They bid each other farewell, and Isabella steps back into the crisp city air. The midday sun bathes the city in a gentle warmth as Isabella approaches her house. Her steps slow as her gaze drifts to the end of the street, her thoughts momentarily elsewhere. Then, with a decisive turn, she heads toward the midwife's house. By the time the sun dips below the horizon, casting the city in hues of golden shadow, Vittorio ascends the stairs. Opening the door to Isabella standing in the living room, he pauses, his eyes drawn to the sight before him. Isabella stands in the center of the room, wearing her blue dress, her long hair cascading down her back in soft waves. A broad smile lights her face, and the earrings gleam in the dim light, accentuating her features. Vittorio steps carefully into the room, sensing an unusual energy. "How do you like them, Uncle?" Isabella asks, tilting her head playfully. "You look magnificent," he replies sincerely, his voice steady but warm. Isabella takes a step closer, her eyes sparkling. "Thank you again for the gift," she says softly. Vittorio offers a faint smile, but his gaze falters momentarily. The dress she is wearing, one she hasn't worn in some time, is now ill-fitted. It clings too tightly to her chest, the fabric straining slightly and revealing more than he is comfortable with. Clearing his throat, he shifts his gaze and says, "Let's eat." During the meal, Vittorio finds himself silently observing Isabella, noting how much she has changed. The little girl he took in 6 years ago has blossomed into a woman, her features carrying a maturity that catches him off guard. As the meal winds down, he finally speaks, his tone light yet purposeful. "We should get you a new dress." Isabella looks up, slightly surprised. "I already have another one," she replies. "I mean a new blue one," Vittorio clarifies. "You've always loved blue, and it complements your earrings beautifully. Besides, now that you're a woman, having more than one proper dress is only fitting." Isabella smiles at his thoughtfulness and nods. "Very well, but let me contribute this time," she says firmly. After waking, Isabella fastens her simple bronze earrings, a new quiet ritual that marks the start of her day. As the morning sun filters through her window, she tends to Cenere, stroking the horse's sleek coat and ensuring he is well fed. With her sleeves rolled up, she moves on to the workshop, tidying the space with efficient, purposeful motions. Early in the afternoon, Isabella arrives at Signor Libri's store, surprised to find it bustling with several customers. As she waits patiently for her turn, she lets her gaze wander over the titles on display, reading each one with quiet curiosity. At the same time, she keeps a subtle watch on how Signor Libri interacts with his patrons. It becomes clear to her that the old man has mastered the art of using his unconventional charm to connect with his customers, effortlessly engaging them with his eccentric yet endearing demeanor. Isabella watches as the last customer leaves the store, then approaches Signor Libri, who greets her with his usual exuberance. "Ah, Signora Isabella, what a pleasure to see you today. What can I do for you?" She smiles faintly, already accustomed to his theatrical demeanor. "I'm here about the news. The good news you mentioned yesterday." Libri nods sagely. "Ah, yes, I remember perfectly what I told you yesterday. But let me clarify, the news is for your uncle, not for you. So, how can I help you today?" Isabella sighs, her patience slightly fraying. "My uncle couldn't come, so he sent me in his stead. Can you share the news with me so I can pass it along to him?" With a thoughtful hum, Libri says, "Ha, that changes things." An awkward silence stretches between them before he abruptly moves aside, rummaging through a stack of papers. Returning to the counter, he places a familiar bundle. Isabella's poems, before her without a word. Tilting her head, Isabella studies him, her expression a mix of confusion and curiosity. "So, is this the good news?" You're returning the poems? Librai's face twists into mock offense. This is a lot of money. You could at least thank me for it. Money? Isabella repeats, utterly baffled. Without answering, Librai retrieves a medium-sized box, counts out 16 coins, and places them on the counter. Here, your uncle's share, he announces with a smirk. Still perplexed, Isabella stammers, Thank you, yes, this is indeed a lot of money, but what is it for? The 10 copies sold, Librai replies nonchalantly, then adds with a chuckle, You're not too quick on the uptake, are you, little one? Isabella blinks in astonishment. You sold the book? 10 copies? Oh, yes, of course. Thank you, Signor Librai. My uncle will be very pleased to hear this. Librai grins, leaning forward conspiratorially. Tell him it's his share as the hidden hand. Her brow furrows. The hidden hand? What does that mean? Librai sighs, his patience thinning. Do you think anyone would buy poetry from some Vittorio Ferro from nowhere? A name sells, my dear. I provided a great name, and your uncle's work sold. 10 copies, 1/5 of the earnings goes to him. Though mentally exhausted from the exchange, Isabella forces a polite smile. I see. My uncle will be delighted. Thank you for your efforts. Have a good day, Signor Librai. After taking the documents and the money she turns to leave, Librai calls after her, Tell your uncle I need more poems like these. Stopping in her tracks, Isabella spins back around, stepping closer with a sharp focus in her eyes. Are you telling me that people actually enjoyed these? She points to the manuscripts on the counter. Librai scoffs, waving dismissively. Of course they did. Why else would I ask for more? A surge of pride and disbelief courses through her. Spotting a book nearby, she pulls it off the shelf. How much for this one? She asks. Librai glances at it and snorts. Too expensive for you. That's an illuminated edition of the Arthurian Tales. 250 soldi. Her wide brown eyes brighten with an idea. Can I rent it? She asks, her voice tinged with hope. He eyes her skeptically. Do you even know how to read? I'm learning, Isabella replies confidently. After a brief pause, Librai waves a hand dismissively. Fine, just take it. Bring it back next time. Overcome with gratitude, Isabella steps forward and plants a quick kiss on his cheek. Thank you, Signor Librai, she says warmly before turning and leaving the shop, leaving him chuckling to himself as she walks away. As Isabella walks home, her thoughts begin to settle and a realization dawns. At least 10 people have read her poems. Not only that, but they must have enjoyed them as more poems are being requested. The number may seem modest, but to Isabella it's transformative. The idea that her words might have brought warmth and joy to others fills her with pride. Her spirits soar, her happiness radiating as she crosses the bustling market. The market hums with life, its stalls clustered tightly together despite the muted offerings of November. The vibrant colors of summer's fruits and vegetables have faded, replaced by hardier, earth-toned produce. Nearby, performers captivate wide-eyed children with their deft juggling, their colorful props spinning through the crisp air. Adults, meanwhile, gather around storytellers and troubadours, their voices weaving tales and melodies that bring warmth to the chilly day. The lively atmosphere, filled with laughter and the occasional burst of applause, offers a stark contrast to the season's dwindling abundance. Passing a vendor, her eyes are drawn to an item she has coveted for some time, a proper hairbrush. She lingers, contemplating the various designs and prices before finally settling on a more expensive choice, indulging herself in a fine brush with a bronze handle. The luxurious item and a flat cap selected for Vittorio costs her 15 soldi. Isabella spends her remaining coins on a generous assortment of her favorite food, a variety of fresh, earthy mushrooms. Later, in her bedroom, the last warm hues of the setting sun bathe her face. Isabella hums softly as she runs the brush through her freshly washed hair, her long chestnut locks softer than ever. Each stroke feels luxurious, a small but satisfying indulgence in a day that has left her feeling truly alive. The sound of the front door creaking open halts her movements. She sets the brush down, picks up the flat cap, and hides it behind her back before stepping out to greet Vittorio. A smirk tugs at her lips, which doesn't escape Vittorio's notice. "There's something different about you today," he remarks, narrowing his eyes in mock suspicion. "You're glowing." "Yes, Uncle, today is a happy day," Isabella replies, her voice light and playful. He studies her carefully. "Is it new earrings?" he ventures. "No, it's not that," Isabella says, laughing. "It's your birthday today." With a flourish, she reveals the cap and holds it out to him. Vittorio frowns. "My birthday isn't today." "How would I know that? You never told me when your birthday is," Isabella exclaims with mock indignation. "So I had to make one up. Happy birthday, Uncle." She pushes the cap into his hands. A chuckle escapes Vittorio as he takes the cap and places it on his head. Isabella steps closer to adjust it, her smile widening. "You look just like a nobleman. Do you like it?" "Thank you for the gift, Isabella," he says warmly. Isabella leads the way to the table, announcing warmly, "Dinner is ready." Vittorio follows, settling into his seat with the new cap still perched on his head. As he looks across at her, he pauses thoughtfully. "There's something different about you, Isabella, but I can't quite put my finger on it." She brushes off the comment with a light smile, deflecting his scrutiny. Vittorio chuckles and continues, "You know, I could get used to this, being greeted like this every day. First the earrings yesterday, and now this." Isabella tilts her head slightly, her expression one of quiet acknowledgement as she begins serving the food. The next day is Sunday. As Isabella prepares for the morning service, her thoughts drift to Vittorio's love interest. It seems likely that the woman attends the same church as they do. Though Vittorio works for at least 3 different churches, most of their clients belong to the one they frequent. With this in mind, Isabella resolves to observe Vittorio more closely throughout the day. During Mass, Isabella notices nothing out of the ordinary. After the service, as they stand by the main door greeting the priest, her attention is caught by a faint glimpse of a woman, accompanied by what is likely her daughter, standing across the square and glancing in their direction. Isabella's senses sharpen, her curiosity piqued. As they walk home at a casual pace, her suspicions grow stronger. They pass the woman, a sturdy figure with dark brown hair, black eyes, and generally pleasing features. Clad in dark clothing, her presence carries a commanding weight, mirroring the stature and authority Vittorio exudes among men. Isabella catches the subtle flicker of Vittorio's sidelong glance, a detail too small for most to notice but unmistakable to her. The woman, far less discreet, follows them with her gaze, her eyes lingering on Vittorio and Isabella as they walk away. Maintaining her composure, Isabella allows a small, knowing smirk to curve her lips, the only hint of her newfound awareness. After a week immersed in Arthurian tales, Isabella closes the book on a slow, rainy afternoon. Reclining on her bed, she gently strokes Rosso, her thoughts lingering on the vivid world of chivalry and courtly romance. She imagines a grand court filled with strong knights draped in shining mail, steadfast guardians of peace and justice. Young maidens await news of their brave suitors, their hearts filled with both hope and longing. For Isabella, this fantasy is no mere distraction. It's an escape she's determined to bring to life and share with others. Inspired, she retrieves her large wax tablet and begins to write, her mind brimming with the unattainable tales of love and valor that have captured her imagination. The short story she has decided to write recounts a grand jousting tournament hosted by an aging king as part of a lavish celebration. Amidst the festivities, a knight named Raymond, visiting from distant Gaul, is struck by the young queen's grace and beauty. Though they exchange only fleeting glances and few words, his heart becomes entirely devoted to her. The tournament's prizes, honor from the king and the queen's delicate handkerchief, are announced. While others dream of glory, Raymond desires only the fabric, seeing it as a symbol of her favor and his unspoken love. As he takes his turn, clad in mail that catches the golden light of the sun, he rides with unwavering determination, his lance meeting his opponents in a thunderous collision. The clash is brutal, with splinters flying as the crowd roars in awe. But when Raymond falls from his horse, his helmet dislodged, the cheers turn to gasps. As he lies motionless, the queen watches in growing horror, clutching the handkerchief tightly. Her gaze lowers to see the splintered lance lodged in his chest, piercing his heart. In that final moment, Raymond's peaceful expression meets hers, his devotion evident even as life fades. The handkerchief, now stained with blood and tears, becomes a lasting symbol of love and loss. Isabella blows on the windowpane, creating a misty film, then wipes it clean with a cloth. Moving methodically to the next pane, she barely glances up as Vittorio enters the room and stands quietly beside her. She continues her task, focused and silent, until her uncle finally speaks. "Isabella," he begins cautiously, "I've been contemplating my situation, how things are progressing between Ginevra and me. I think I'm ready to take the next step. I'd like to ask her if she would become my wife." Isabella offers no immediate reaction, methodically moving to the next square of glass. The rhythm of her movements doesn't falter, but her silence hangs in the air. Undeterred, Vittorio presses on. "I haven't asked her yet," he continues. "You will always be my priority, and that's why I'm discussing this with you first." In an even tone, Isabella responds, "Do what makes you happy, uncle." Vittorio hesitates, bracing himself. "If I move forward with this plan, it would mean Ginevra and her daughter Costanza might move in with us. You'd likely have to share your room with Costanza, at least until she marries in a few months. She's already betrothed." The suggestion sends a shiver down Isabella's spine, but she maintains her composure, her movement steady. Vittorio elaborates further, clearly uneasy. "I'd like you to meet them. They're eager to meet you too." Breaking the brief, uncomfortable silence, Isabella asks in a measured tone, "You've told them about me?" "Yes," Vittorio admits, his voice tinged with unease. "But I didn't go into detail. I know how much you value your privacy." Isabella seizes on this point, her voice calm but pointed. "Yet you're considering having Costanza share my room." She turns to face him then, her tone softening, though her eyes still hold a glint of challenge. "Very well. Let's meet them. Just let me know when." Relieved, Vittorio offers a faint smile, grateful for her acceptance, even if her demeanor remains guarded. Thick clouds engulf Padua, draping the city in a shroud of December mist. The streets are hushed, the faint glow of candlelight seeping through windows a testament to the somber stillness of people staying indoors. Isabella and Vittorio walk side by side, dressed in their finest attire. Isabella adorned with her turquoise earrings and Vittorio sporting his green flat cap. Emerging like shadows from the mist, two female silhouettes stand waiting by the bridge. As they approach, Isabella and Vittorio stop in front of Ginevra and Costanza. Vittorio nods politely to the women, and Isabella greets them with poise. "Good afternoon, Signora Ginevra. Good afternoon, Signora Costanza. How are you today?" Both women reply in unison. "Good afternoon, Signora Isabella." Ginevra, taller than Isabella by a modest margin, wears a head covering that fails to fully conceal the strands of white beginning to show in her dark brown hair. Though time has softened her features, traces of her past beauty remain, etched in her bearing and expression. Costanza, slightly taller than Isabella, lacks the elegance of her mother, her features plainer by comparison but with brown hair. The group crosses the quiet river on the deserted bridge, their footsteps echoing faintly in the still air. On the far side, they follow a path Isabella knows well. Here, the river distinctly separates the city walls from the natural landscape beyond, a contrast between urban order and untamed quiet. Ginevra falls into step beside Isabella, their conversation hushed, while a few paces back, Vittorio walks with Costanza. The weight of the silence grows heavier as Isabella senses the gazes of her uncle and Costanza lingering on her back. Ginevra finally breaks it, her voice gentle but purposeful. "You're becoming a fine young woman, Isabella," she says warmly. "Thank you, Signora Ginevra," Isabella replies politely. "There's no need for formalities. Please, just call me Ginevra," she insists, her smile softening. "Those earrings suit you beautifully. They really bring out your features." After a brief pause, Ginevra's tone shifts, tinged with both fondness and sorrow. "These riverbanks bring me joy and sadness all at once. This is where my late husband worked his entire life, and where he passed. An accident, drowning 6 months ago. Your uncle was kind enough to help me through those dark days." Isabella's tone is respectful, yet curious. "How have you been managing since that dreadful event?" Ginevra exhales, her grief palpable. "It's been difficult for both of us. We've had to sell a few things, take on odd jobs just to get by. We couldn't even send word to my son about his father's passing. I pray he visits us soon. Perhaps he can help, but God is testing my faith." Isabella's response is blunt but steady. "My uncle has an agenda, Ginevra. You're dear to him. In the 6 years I've lived with him, he's never once spoken of another woman. I know he put his life on hold for me, but I sense that having a family would make him happy." Ginevra nods slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Vittorio hasn't been direct with me, but I feel the same. I care for him deeply. My mourning isn't over, but in my position I have priorities. I can't remain alone forever. Vittorio is a good man. If he were to ask for my hand, I would accept. I know his profession distances him from the rest of the world, but I've reached an age where peace and quiet mean more to me than anything else." Ginevra hesitates, the silence punctuated by the crunch of gravel beneath their feet. Sensing more, Isabella doesn't speak, allowing the pause to stretch. Finally, Ginevra continues, her voice more subdued. "As for a family, I don't know. If that's what he truly desires, I don't know if I can still provide one." Isabella's reply is empathetic, but firm. "That's a conversation you need to have with him. I could be wrong about what he wants, but it's not for you to decide. It should be his choice." Ginevra nodded thoughtfully. "And for you two, it seems, you're fortunate to have each other." Ginevra's voice drops, tinged with quiet lament. "Loneliness is a cruel companion, Isabella. My daughter is at an age where she'll soon start her own life. And then, I don't know what waits for me." "Your uncle is a rare man, Isabella," Ginevra said, her voice soft but resolute. "He sees what others overlook. It's what drew me to him. I only hope I can find my place in his world without intruding on yours." Isabella boldly says, "About intimacy?" The weight of the question settles on Ginevra, pressing heavily, especially during her mourning period. A trap has been set upon her, but the truth might be her only way forward. She looks down at her shoes, and after a moment a muted yes escapes her lips. Isabella nods, and silence envelops them once more. Ginevra glances back, subtly seeking Vittorio's attention. Noticing this, Isabella turns her head to see Vittorio gently nudging Costanza forward while Ginevra slows her pace. In a well-executed maneuver, Ginevra and Costanza seamlessly switch places. So it's Costanza's turn to be judged, Isabella muses silently. Isabella keeps her gaze fixed on the misty path ahead, but she senses Costanza's unease as the young woman walks beside her. Suddenly, a flood of words spills out from Costanza, breaking the silence. "Your uncle is such a nice man. He's helped my mama so much since my papa passed. Did you know I'm betrothed? My sposo is a blacksmith and he's a really good man. My mama needed money to buy him a suit for the engagement, and your uncle helped us sort everything out. We had a nice party, small but lovely. Oh, and look at this!" Costanza extends an end of her burgundy shawl toward Isabella. "My sposo gave me this. Isn't it beautiful? He also gave me a silver ring with amber. It's quite expensive. At least 20 soldi from what I know." Costanza proudly shows off the ring on her finger, her face lighting up with delight. "He's renting a house not far from my mama's place, and I spend a lot of time there imagining how I'll decorate it once we're married. Did I tell you we're getting married soon? It's going to be such a beautiful ceremony. I want plenty of flowers. I love flowers. And I hope the weather is nice. I'm going to invite all the neighbors and have a feast they'll remember forever." Without pausing for breath, she continues, "I want 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. But I'd like to have a girl first, so she can help me raise her siblings. Oh, and for my wedding dress, I've decided on burgundy to match this shawl. I've already been to some stores to look for dresses. Did you know he kissed me? Twice on the cheek. The first time he didn't ask and I was so flushed, but the second time he asked first. Can you believe that? And, well, I'm not afraid of the wedding night. My friend got married last summer and she said it wasn't so bad." She gestures to her dress, pointing proudly toward the hem. "Oh, and I've learned to sew. I already fixed this dress once. You'd never even know, would you?" Finally, Costanza pauses and looks at Isabella expectantly. "And what about you, Isabella? What do you do?" Maintaining her stoic composure, Isabella answers evenly, "I clean up cadavers." The cheerful flood of Costanza's words halts abruptly. She stares down at her feet, biting her lip in awkward silence, just as the next city bridge emerges from the mist, signaling the end of their walk. They all cross the bridge back into the city. After a brief exchange of formal farewells, Ginevra and Costanza disappear into the mist, heading toward their own home. Isabella and Vittorio lingers for a moment, their gaze fixed on the direction the women went, their figure motionless in the biting cold. Breaking the silence, Vittorio asks hesitantly, "So, what do you think?" Isabella hums in vague acknowledgement, offering no further response, and turns to head back home, compelling Vittorio to follow. The silence between them grows heavy, Vittorio resisting the urge to press her for answers, though his curiosity gnaws at him. The day grows darker, the weak December light giving way to a sky heavy with clouds, the sun never once showing its face. Once home, Isabella walks straight toward her room. Without turning back, she states firmly, "I will not share my bedroom with Costanza," and closes the door behind her with finality. Standing in the empty space she left, Vittorio murmurs to himself, "Thank you, Isabella." Then, in a louder voice, he calls out, "I'll cook dinner, something warm." He moves toward the fireplace, crouching down to stoke the embers with a smile, adding fresh logs to reawaken the flames. A few days before Christmas, Isabella, having carefully copied her short story and poems onto paper, sets out for Signor Librai's shop. The crisp, pristine cold of the day bites at her cheeks, but the sun warms her face as she crosses the bustling marketplace, wrapped snugly in her shawl. Pushing open the door to the store, Isabella unwraps her shawl, letting the warmth of the shop embrace her. "Ah, is it Signora Annabella?" the owner exclaims, his voice carrying its usual mix of mischief and charm. Isabella smiles politely. It's Isabella, Signor Libri. Good day to you. She steps closer and sets the Arthurian book on the counter. Libri's face lights up dramatically. Where have you been, little devil? I've been searching for you everywhere. You lent it to my uncle, Isabella replies calmly. Don't you remember? Libri pauses, momentarily stumped. Of course I do, he says after a beat, swiftly recovering. He takes the book and lovingly places it back on the shelf. There you go, my friend, back where you belong. Returning to Isabella with a wide grin, he gestures theatrically. And what can I do for you today, young Isabella? Isabella sets her neatly arranged documents on the counter. My uncle wishes to submit these poems for review. There's also a longer piece inspired by the book. What book? Libri asks, tilting his head. The Arthurian book you lent him, Isabella answers with patience. He enjoyed it so much he crafted a story from it. Libri leans forward with a curious gleam in his eye. And did you like it? Yes, it's a good poem. Not the poem, little one, Libri interrupts with mock indignation. No one cares about that. I mean the book. Did you enjoy it? Isabella doesn't take offense, having grown familiar with his eccentric ways. It's a difficult read for me, she admits with a touch of humility. I'm just a simple woman. Libri's smile grows broader, his tone turning mock serious. Ah, of course. Reading is far too intense for a woman's mind. God gave them beauty. Better they focus on using that. Isabella, suppressing a smirk, plays along. About those poems, Signor Libri? She says, her tone light and teasing. Yes, the poems, he replies, waving a dismissive hand. Your uncle is talented. I'll send them to someone who knows how to review these things. Poetry is not my passion, you know. Isabella softens her voice and toys with a strand of hair, her demeanor suddenly playful. My uncle is writing more poems he'd like to submit later. In the meantime, he's curious. Under what name are you publishing these works? Libri frowns, tapping his chin as if trying to summon a memory. Lovato Lovati. No, that's not it. Ah, Rolando Lovati. Yes, that's the name. Isabella nods in acknowledgement, her expression calm and composed. Thank you for your time, Signor Libri, she says before leaving the shop, the faintest smile tugging at her lips as the door swings shut behind her. 2 weeks into the year of our Lord 1227, Isabella finds herself embracing her evolving identity, trying on 2 new dresses that reflect her growing confidence. The first, a deep blue dress fully paid for by Vittorio, complements her striking features with elegant modesty. The second, a fresh green summer dress, is a self-purchased indulgence, a small treat she allows herself. Both garments enhance her appearance, towing the line of societal acceptability while showcasing her burgeoning independence. Vittorio, observing her transformation, quietly revels in her growth and supports her choices without hesitation. While busy in his workshop, Vittorio hears Isabella's lively footsteps descending the stairs, their rhythm filled with youthful exuberance. She enters the space with a bright smile and a playful spin, letting her dress flare briefly, revealing a glimpse of her legs. I'm heading out, Uncle, she announces cheerfully, before slipping outside. Vittorio watches her go, a smile tugging at his lips, reassured by her carefree demeanor. A reminder that beneath her newfound maturity, she still carries the lightness of youth. Outside, the crisp winter sky mirrors the hue of her blue dress, its high clouds resembling her delicate lace. Wrapping her shawl tightly around her shoulders, Isabella makes her way toward the bustling central marketplace. Lately, she has taken pleasure in treating herself to small but meaningful items, each purchase a quiet assertion of her independence. Today, she seeks a new pair of earrings. Her turquoise set feels too formal, while her small bronze ones are too understated for her liking. It doesn't take long for her to find the perfect pair. Simple yet refined bronze teardrop earrings, a balanced choice between her existing styles. For only 4 soldi they're a bargain, barely making a dent in her savings. As she tries them on, the vendor offers her a bronze mirror to assess her appearance. His respectful demeanor and courteous gestures, indicative of his recognition of her standing, bolster Isabella's confidence. Looking into the mirror, she admires the way the earrings enhance her look, though the sight also stirs an unexpected feeling, a yearning for something more, an undefined desire awakened by her reflection. Deciding to leave her new earrings on, Isabella strolls leisurely through the bustling market, her eyes flitting over the vendors' colorful wares. She pauses near a group of acrobats and jesters, their performances drawing gasps and laughter from the gathered crowd. The lively sounds of amusement ripple through the air, drowning out all else. Isabella finds herself a willing participant, her attention captivated by the skill and spectacle. As the performers transition to a new act, the crowd quiets. A dwarf in a comical outfit weaves through the onlookers, holding out a collection basket. Isabella, feeling generous, drops a few coins in it. It is at that moment she hears it, familiar words spoken in a melodic tone. "Yes, those are my words," she murmurs, her pulse quickening as she scans the crowd. Weaving her way through the sea of bodies, she pushes past onlookers to escape the throng. At the edge of the crowd, she discovers a young man standing on a small makeshift stage, reciting one of her poems. His voice is rich and commanding, holding the attention of 30 enraptured listeners. Isabella's breath catches as she observes the scene. Women in the audience seem entranced, their expressions softening with longing as the poem's tender words wash over them. Meanwhile, the men look on, their faces marked by a mix of admiration and envy. Isabella stands frozen, disoriented by the swirl of emotions coursing through her, joy, pride, and a sharp pang of resentment. Rooted to the spot, she watches in silence as the young man concludes the recital. Applause erupts from the crowd, and he bows with theatrical flair. "These are some of my latest poems," he announces, gesturing toward a stack of pamphlets in his hand. "If you wish to read more, you may purchase my compilation." He straightens, a roguish smile playing on his lips. "I am Rolando Lavati. I write to celebrate love, the beauty of women, and the courage of men." The women swoon as he kneels dramatically, extending his hand toward one in the front row. His gallant gesture elicits delighted giggles, and the crowd buzzes with excitement. Rolando gracefully hops down from the stage, still clutching his pamphlets, and sells 2 copies before slipping away from the market with a confident stride. Throughout it all, Isabella remains motionless, her body frozen and her breath suspended. She feels like a statue, unblinking and unable to process the mixture of pride and betrayal that grips her. As Rolando fades into the distance, the crowd thins and leaves Isabella alone with a whirlwind of conflicting emotions.